Up, Molly, right on through, say, the middle of this week, which is also another wild card, also helping to bring down more power lines, more power outages, and more impacts from these systems.
And it's very possible with multiple pushes of storms moving in that we don't even get the power restored before we see more wind move back in. So be prepared for prolonged power outages. Make sure you're charging your devices now before some of the strongest wind starts to move in. We have a high wind warning, wind advisories. Of course, the strongest wind will be right along the coast as this powerful low pressure system is poised to move on shore today. And because we've got that counterclockwise flow around our low pressure, it's really setting us up perfectly right along the California coast, not only to see those extremely strong winds. We already have them in San Luis Obispo, as well as some of these buoys out here. We're gusting above 40 miles per hour. This is just the beginning. The winds will only get stronger as the low pressure, the pressure continues to drop in this system. And when that happens, the wind speeds go up. So here's a look at the forecast as far as some of our wind speeds. Keep an eye on Monterey, where we could see wind gusts topping 75 miles per hour, and even areas like San Francisco, 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts, Santa Barbara, 50, even down towards LA and San Diego, we're in that range of 25, 30, maybe even 35 miles per hour. That will bring down trees, potentially power lines, trees on top of power lines. You kind of get that. And then along, the whole kind of theme of that is we're going to have flooding and life-threatening flash flooding going along with some of these very strong winds. Because we have the strong winds, we have the strong low pressure, of course we're going to have huge waves, breaking waves crashing against the coastline. We could even have some coastal flooding issues as well. Eventually we see these winds start to calm down a little bit by the time we get to late Monday into the early part of Tuesday. But it's very rare when you talk about the flood threat to see the Weather Prediction Center to issue what you see right here in those red colors. This is a high risk of flash flooding. This is through tomorrow, but this also goes through Tuesday morning. And when it comes to those high risk flash flooding days, that's when we see the most damage. And unfortunately, Lynette, also the most fatalities.
Yeah, I think the last time we saw that high risk was.
Yeah, the wild card is going to be that wind. It's bad enough to have all that snow and have all that rain, but to put the wind in there as well, yeah, it's going to bring a lot more trees and power lines down, hopefully not on people's cars or homes.
And that's why we're hoping people stay home, because you don't want to be out driving and have trees come down on top while you're driving. It's happened before. We don't want that to happen this time. And we've got a bunch of high wind warnings and wind advisories for a lot of California. Now, keep in mind that some of the strongest winds are going to be right at the coastline. And of course, as you go up in elevation as expected. But there's our low pressure system. It is powerful and it's deepening. So as the pressure falls, the wind speeds are increasing. So we're seeing all morning long, the wind speeds have been going up in San Luis Obispo, where we've got wind gusts to 53 miles per hour. Look at some of these buoys out over the Pacific, near 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So the winds have been getting stronger for the past couple of hours, and they will only continue to get stronger as the day goes on, especially as we get into the afternoon and we have some of those stronger winds from the upper levels of the atmosphere mixing down to the surface. There's an example right there in Monterey, where we could see 60 to 75-mile-per-hour wind gusts. A lot of these winds start to get stronger as this low pressure starts to move on shore. So by this evening, Mammoth Lakes, Mammoth Mountain, 40 to 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Of course, you go up in elevation, and those will only get even stronger. By tomorrow, our winds start to back off. That's good news, and hopefully any power outages that happen today, they can quickly be restored as some of these winds start to come back down. And with a very powerful low pressure system and very strong winds, of course, we've got huge breaking waves along the coastline. You just saw Mike Seidel a few minutes ago in Santa Cruz, where we've got an angry Pacific Ocean out behind him, and we will continue to see those large waves. Coastal flooding could be an issue in some areas where we have some lower roadways, but we are looking at least the wave heights coming down as well as the winds start to back off. Now, that is the wind element. We also have a very extreme water element, and that is from freshwater flooding. We have the rain that's coming down in inches, and because of that, there's a high risk of flooding. So that's what you see in this red color. And these are issued by the Weather Prediction Center, and it's very rare to see a high risk of flash flooding. And that includes Los Angeles as well as Santa Barbara. We see the most damage on high risk days. Those, again, are issued by the Weather Prediction Center. And unfortunately, we also see the most fatalities on high risk weather days. So, Lynette, a lot to watch out for in the next, say, 36 to 48 hours.